Anyway, let's jump into it. Welcome back to Casuals and Counters, joined by myself, Will, from Casuals Corner MMA, and Leo Cooper from Leo Cooper's YouTube channel, A Guide To. I actually said to you, drop me a message the other day and on Discord, and you was about to go into a few details of your trip, just what you got up to and things like that. And I said, you know what, save it, just because I'm interested to hear what you got up to. Because when I went out there, I went at New Year's time. I was there for New Year's Eve. So it was a little bit of a different atmosphere, I imagine, to the summer and the sun and the sort of vibe of the city. So what was it like? How did you enjoy it?
Yeah, no, it was nice, man. It was...
Amsterdam, that is, for anyone that doesn't know.
Yes, of course, yeah. Yeah, well, my brother lived there for a year, so he knew the ins and outs of everywhere that wasn't touristy. So it was, wherever we went, it was actually pretty chill, pretty quiet. People are lovely. That's kind of like a stereotype, but it's actually true. Everyone was really nice. Yeah, it was chill. Really nice. I don't know, just a good time. 3 days. Good to just not think about doing, editing or anything like that and just not worrying about it. Yeah, it was a good time.
What was the highlight of the trip? What was the one thing that you went home and thought, I really enjoyed that?
I quite like just cycling everywhere. Do you know what I mean? It's so easy to get around. I don't know if you did much cycling. We did about 60k in 3 days, I think. We're just cycling everywhere basically. So yeah, it was great because you have right of way on the bike. So you just re-rented some out. My bike actually got a puncture though. Oh my god, it was the second they had to pay extra for that. Yeah.
Was you on the electric bike or the
No, just regular ones. Oh my god, mine sounded like it was gonna break down. Every time I was riding it, I was shitting myself a little bit because I don't ride bikes at all really. So I was a bit rusty.
Some of those do the rounds. I remember once we went when we were away and we went to a little bike rental and the person said, "Oh, do you want to do electric bikes?" So we thought, you know what, we'll pay a little bit more, we'll do that. Fine. I never realised how much more enjoyable cycling is when you don't actually have to cycle. You don't have to actually.
I think everyone kept coming past us on the overtake lane, just zooming like it's nothing. I'm like, damn.
People were looking at me with some serious envy when they were struggling to get up the hills. In terms of food, what did you get up to with food? Did you eat at many places or
a little bit? We tried this, that bitter balance stuff. Those little they're like these little fried I don't even like meat things. I don't know. They're nice though. I know that's the local thing. I tried them, and the rest of it was just burgers and chips and shit. Like good stuff though. Not bad. Actually, there was a nice little sandwich place we went to. Yeah, nothing crazy. Just anything that wasn't. I think everything's so expensive though, so I had to be careful because
Was it busy?
Nah, I mean in the touristy areas it was, but not really. It was quite nice. I mean, we went early in the week, so I was there from Monday to I can't even think anymore. Monday to Thursday. So yeah, it wasn't too bad.
That's the thing out there because there are a ton of, like anywhere I suppose, but there's a ton of tourist traps where you can just find yourself looking around. Thinking, I don't really want to be here. This is not really what I fancy to today. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's pretty cool. And
that was lovely.
I guess just in terms of we'll do an update on both of our sides, and then we'll jump into the main card obviously from last night because it was a fun one.
It was
super fun one actually, and obviously it was on British times, which was fun. But
yeah, that threw me off actually.
That was really good.
Yeah.
You didn't realise?
No, I did. It just threw me off. I completely forgot.
No,
I'm just so used to it.
It's easily done. When your brain's programmed into 11 p.m. on Saturdays, you're just dialed in. I got confirmation this week for the first Food Fighters episode, which now is shaping up to be quite fun. I think I spoke to you before about the sort of concept and whatnot, and now I've finalised it from every person, all the dates, which is cool, which is the 10th of July. So a week before the sort of UFC London fight week. I'll be releasing it, and I'm very fortunate because I've managed to get two friends. One who's
I was going to ask,
a fantastic photographer who's really doing exceptional things at the moment in his field in terms of photography. He just travelled back from Estonia, actually, funnily enough. He was in a really, really cool trip where he travelled to Estonia with a few creatives and models and artists and things like that and captured their shoots. So I've got a super, super talented photographer. I'm so lucky, so blessed to have that. And then on the flip side as well, another one of my friends, she's an incredible videographer. and she's working on some incredible projects at the moment, and she's currently actually out in Madrid shooting someone's wedding for them, and she's super, super talented, super creative, and really, really high level. So I've managed to get both of those on the team for the project. Yeah.
You might want to explain to people who aren't versed what you're actually talking about.
That's actually a great point. That's actually a great point. I'm speaking in riddles. So if anyone is listening that actually doesn't know, the episode is Food Fighters, which basically is extrapolating the idea or the concept of the project that I've been putting out on my short form platforms, in terms of basically documenting what I'm making, what I'm eating with my channels, and basically scaling that to where is one-to-one interviews with fighters where I cook their favorite foods with them, and we have a little chat and we video it and put it out across the platform. So yeah, managed to get the two creatives on that side. Obviously got Nathaniel on board, so got a great person and a very, very reputable fighter. And then on top of that as well, managed to secure a location in a absolutely insane property. I got sent a video.
Is it like one of those proper nice ones? Are you just filming there?
It's stupid.
That's it.
It's stupid. So it's basically the man who owns the gym. So he's like the majority shareholder in the gym. It's his house who said he'll sponsor the show for that episode. So it's on his estate, let's call it. And it's absolutely insanity. Had a little video of the garden, and he said, it's up to you whether you want to use the outdoor kitchen or the indoor kitchen. It's gardening. Yeah, it's absolutely it's absolutely insane. So yeah, 10th of July we'll be filming that, so it'll be out probably 17th, 18th. So hopefully it's going to have a nice push when obviously Nathaniel's in his fight week.
Yeah, perfect timing.
Yeah, exactly that. And then obviously when he secures an emphatic win, which I believe he's definitely going to be doing.
I think he will as well.
Yeah, I think then you're going to even see an even bigger push. So hopefully it's a perfect timing.
It's all about timing.
Yeah, it's all about timing, and hopefully it's just it's that perfect time to sort of not ride that wave, but also ride the wave of UFC London, right? Yeah. It's always good to have. Yeah, of course, it's always good as a British media outlet to have your pieces of content coming out around that time. So anyway, let's get stuck into the card yesterday, because the first thing I need to say before we even get into it is it just illuminates to the nth degree the importance of having fans at these shows.
Absolutely, man.
It's just it's a no-brainer. Once they go to these arenas, once they go to states that they haven't been to in a long time, it's not even close. These people who have been starved of actually watching some of their favourite sports live, it's coming back to their hometown. There's a great buzz around it.
Exactly.
There's probably local talent on the board because the roster's huge now. So there's always local guys to cheer on. And the atmosphere, even from the first fight, it was super surprising, because the American crowds are never usually that invested from the first. But let's start from the first one. Josh Emmett, Ilia Topuria.
Yeah, it was it went. I think how we said it was gonna go. Just Topuria. It's a great matchup of just strikers just swinging. Like a lot of the times, it was, they just step in that pocket and it was just like phone booth fighting, those little exchanges. It was just classic. It was exactly what we hoped it was going to be, I think. And Topuria's just a step ahead, I think for every one punch Emmett threw with that big looping right hand, or would come in with the left hook, Topuria, he'd either circle out, just back up a little bit, and then fire back with like 3 or 4. Just kept one step ahead every time. It was. I think it was just a testament to how good he really is. And I know a lot of people were talking about the fact that people were talking about him fighting Paddy like only a few months ago. Oh my god, that would be a murder, obviously. So yeah. I was really impressed. I got to say, really impressed. He was composed. He didn't rush in. It was a little bit frustrating in the 5th round, I think, when he could. I feel like he could have got a submission there. There was a couple of times where Emmett was done. He had him on his back and he didn't go for the hooks. He sort of sat there, dragged him down, and just sort of pushed his weight down on him and looked for a few shots to the head, but didn't. I feel like a sub was definitely there, but at the end of the day, I think the work was done at that point. So I don't think you can really fault him. It was a really, really good performance.
I think that's so impressive about Ilia Topuria is every time you've seen him, it's obvious he's got world-class ability, world-class skill. He's very well-rounded. He has the capability to win the fight in any realm. But the thing that was most impressive about his performance last night is any potential flaws, any potential weaknesses I'd personally seen before, or I'd seen people highlight across online about where he maybe has a deficit. He improved on those. And he closed those gaps to where you didn't really even see those anymore. He wasn't over swinging as much. He wasn't loading up on his punches as much. His patience was there. He was a lot more. He was happy to stand there and trade when he needed to earn respect, but he was also happy to move laterally and fight going backwards as well when he needed to. And the thing that stood out with him that was so impressive, I thought, was just his defense, especially, like you said, in the pocket, that sort of boxing style. He was so defensively sound that it was just a real treat to watch, quite honestly, because then when he let his offense go, it just sort of created a really, really impressive performance, to be perfectly honest. I think, like you said, when we spoke about it last week, we always said Josh Emmett's always got a chance when he's in the fight because he's dangerous, and he is. But when you get to that upper echelon, there's levels to the boxing game. And as I said, Josh Emmett is just a little bit too one-dimensional to come up against an Ilia Topuria who has the defensive work, but then has the offensive work as well when he can start adding combinations.
Yeah,
so,
he matched him, for sure.
Title next, is it?
Nah, a little bit early, I think. One more fight.
Why
I think if you look at the resume of Josh Emmett, I'm not going to say no disrespect to him, he's a great fighter, but I think, I think that win will age not necessarily poorly, but I don't particularly think it's going to age well. I can't see Josh Emmett, doing. I could see him training a little bit.
You have to think with Josh Emmett though. You have to think to play the devil's advocate on that. He's 38 years of age. His CV's not going to get any better. That's absolutely definite. But if you look at his previous years, 18-3, 8-fight win streak, fought for the interim title only one fight ago, and that was only lost.
It's true.
That's true. So when you have a look at that, that's enormous. That's a massive win.
Yeah,
and Josh Emmett, don't forget, is only one fight removed from being the talk of. He was meant to fight for the title, really. It was a lot of people was actually pushing for that. He was pushing for that. Alpha Male was obviously pushing for that. There was that whole thing when he went to the fight because he was meant to be lining up the champion next. So if we just sort of erase that Yair fight out of our mind, Ilia Topuria is going to have done that against the guy that's contending for the belt. So it's impressive, man.
I think maybe it's down to the outcome of 290. I feel like if Yair wins, which I actually think he has a very good chance of doing. So I'm excited for when we talk about that in the future. I think that is a much more appealing matchup. I think Yair versus Topuria, that is fireworks. And him against Volkanovski is as well, but I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe I don't know who else is there to contend, really, I guess.
Well, there's one obvious thing, isn't there? There's an issue that you get into every time at 145 pounds, because what happens is you get a surging contender and then they go, oh, okay, cool, we'll throw you in there with Max Holloway. Then he ruins that, and then we're back to square one, and then we're in a 900th match between those two boys.
You say that, but I could have swore, I could be wrong here, but I swore I saw rumours of him moving up to 155.
He's fighting Korean Zombie.
Yeah, after that, I may be wrong. I read something about that. I could be hearsay. I don't know.
Let's say he comes out against Korean Zombie and absolutely starches him, right?
Which is probably what's going to happen.
Which is possible. And then let's say in a world, Volk beats Yair. This is all hypotheticals, but he says Volk beats Yair, and then he goes and fights Volkanovski. He goes and fights Islam Makhachev, which, by the way, the UFC have already said that they'll happily do. So that is on the cards, right? That is sort of the time frame for what we're looking at. Let's say Max Holloway in that time goes, all right, I'm going to go out and actually, you've got a path to Volk here. They say, okay, cool, you fight Ilia Topuria. If you beat Ilia Topuria, you can fight Volk for your fourth fight. And then I reckon he tries to do that, and then he'll move up because he'll want that back.
Damn.
He'll want that back. And he spoke about it with Ariel Helwani. He obviously he wants that win. So, but if he won, imagine you'd have to have a fifth, wouldn't you? You would have.
You're talking in a lot of the only fight we've had that's even. Moreno. Figueiredo's the only four-fight. Yeah. Moreno Figueiredo is the only four-fight quadrilogy we've actually ever had. So
super impressive.
I
think Josh Emmett. I'm not to sit here and say, oh, he should retire. Is he going to fight for a title? No. I wasn't confident that he had the skill personally to win a belt. Great fighter, incredible conditioning. I want to say that, actually.
Yes,
I have to say that. I can't sit here and talk about that performance without the conditioning of Josh Emmett, because not only was he in a 5th round of a high-paced fight, but the damage that he took up until that point, and then in the 5th round, he's still scrambling, he's still working to the next position, he's still hustling, and he was 50-42 down at that point.
Yeah, that's interesting, actually. I don't remember the last time if I've ever seen that. I don't know if that's if it's just the judges felt extra mean, or like it's a new way they're going with the scoring. I kind of don't mind it.
I like it.
I quite like it as well.
Well, that's what it should be. That's the rules.
Yeah. Well, there was the multiple 10-7s, and we never see 10-7s. So it's like I mean, if you look at the rules, if I'm not mistaken, it's 10-7s are only meant to be given in extreme circumstances. And I don't know if I'd call that extreme, really, because he wasn't like... Sure, he got dropped twice in it was either the 3rd or the 4th round, but I think it was the 4th round. But like, I don't think that warrants that. Definitely a 10-8. Like, but I don't know if that warrants a 10-7. I think you'd have to be on the brink of literally being knocked out cold, which I wouldn't say he was. He was definitely still in there. He got stunned, he got dropped, and his legs went, but he was still in the fight. You could see that. And he clearly was, because he recovered. So I think a 10-7 a little bit harsh, but in terms of that rule set going forward, I kind of like it.
It sets up. It does one thing. We'll end it on this. It sets up a very exciting and technical match between himself and Volkanovski, which would be absolutely insane. We've got to touch upon this one, because this one was crazy. Obviously, in the co-main, we were unfortunate. We had the eye poke, which was, by the way, so nasty.
My god! I saw the slow mo of that. It's the
I didn't
worst
look at it. I haven't seen it. I watched it live and I haven't seen it because I knew it was so bad. I looked away every time.
It's literally his finger disappears into his eyes. It's from like an upper angle, and you see his hand going. The hand keeps going, but then the finger just disappears into his eye. It's like all the way through. It's so bad.
Amanda
Hebas.
My God. Amanda Hebas, Macy Barber.
Yes. That really impressed me, I gotta say. I saw people talking about that, comparing it to the best women's fight since Zhang and Yang Jacek, which I can actually see a testament. I mean, I can agree with that in a way. It was a good. I think Barber really put her foot down, because she's been on the right end of a lot of dodgy decisions, and I think as a result she's garnered quite a bit of hate, which I think is a bit unjust. She's just doing the best she can do, and maybe the decisions went her way when they shouldn't have, but that's not her fault. I've always been a fan of it. I think ever since she beat, this is a real throwback. Was it JJ Aldrich? She like knocked out. Is it TKO? I think something. I could be wrong there. I think so. But I remember when she came on like to the scene when she first few fights in the UFC, she was like knocking people out, and it was like a real new wave of like, damn, we got some real knockout artists in the women's division. Then she kind of tailed off, became a bit. She lost to Roxanne Modafferi, which was quite a big upset.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge upset, actually.
But I think so. Again, as I say, she's garnered a little bit of hate and a lot of negativity around her just jabbing the air quite a lot, which that did happen. To be fair, I'm not gonna hide away from that. But this was like a new breed. Sorry, go.
No. You're right. That's all I was gonna say. I mean, she's got a momentum now. She's got a 5-fight win streak, and it just seemed like you said. Yeah, I think you put it well. It just seemed like she sort of put her foot down and thought, you know what? I've been in a lot of close decisions. I'm a lot stronger than these people. I'm a lot heavier. I hit a lot harder. And if I actually start trusting and having confidence in my striking, I can get these people out of there. And that's exactly what we saw. She, like you said, she just started putting her foot down. And the combinations that she was landing with consistency were super, super impressive.
That head kick.
High-level striking. Really, really high-level striking. A level of striking that you only see from people at the very, very top, like the Leon Edwardses and people of that nature, throwing high kicks and right hands off the same sides and landing them. It's hard to do. It's high-level stuff, and she was landing with so much precision, like on the button every single time, and that's why you could see hers was as well, to be fair, but that's why you could see her nose was completely busted up, because that jab and that 1-2 was just so down the pipe. It just kept slapping her head back. But No, that was a really, really brutal finish, and I watched that last night with a couple of friends who are a little bit obviously more casual fans. They don't really watch the sport too much. They watch a card here and there.
Yeah.
And they were on their feet, like they were shouting. It was a super exciting fight. Yeah,
I think we need that as well for women's MMA, because I think there's a lot of bad. I mean, obviously you have to remember how new it is. It's not even in the UFC. What, it's like 11 years old now, 12 years old, something like that. So it's still so early, and we're really only, obviously it takes years to see these generations of new breeds of fighters coming in. You know, and her nickname is the Future, and I think that's what people forget. She's so young, right? She's only 25, and you know that's, you know, when she was in the UFC, she was she's been there for quite a while now. She had a lot of fights under her belt, and I think people forget that. You know, fighters are improving all the time. I mean, all you need to do is look at Oliveira. He fought his debut at 20, and you know, obviously he had a mixed bag of results. You know, the talent was clearly there in the same way that Barber was or is. And look where he's gone on to become. So I think you have to give fighters like her a chance and time. I think we're seeing that now. The rewards coming through, her getting older, more disciplined, and just more savvy in the octagon, I think. So yeah, I'm very excited to see where she goes, because that win is a very good win, because Amanda Ribas is no joke for sure.
No, she's very legit. And it was weird at the end when she had it went viral when she had her hand up, as if she went to a close split decision.
I was like, yeah, what are you talking about? You just got knocked out.
I was very confused.
Maybe she was still out of it.
I was very confused. I thought she did get cracked a little bit hard, so it did make sense. There's two more fights on the main card, and then we'll just see if there's any others that stood out to us. But David Onama, we spoke about last week, because I said I was super impressed with him when I saw him go up a weight class and fight Mason Jones on his debut. And Mason Jones is a two weight class champion in Cage Warriors. So that is a legitimate level of high skill. And I see the champions in Cage Warriors, and the skill level is very, very high. So David Onama is a very, very good fighter. And last night, he had one of the most brutal knockouts I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, when's the last time you've seen an uppercut KO? Seriously, I was thinking about it. I was like, I can't think of one. I mean, obviously you got on Ngannou, but that was, you know, that's all. I mean, that was a long time ago.
Edgar?
Edgar, that was same year, right? That was 2018 as well. So unless I'm mistaken, right? That was 2018.
But the thing with that,
it just doesn't happen very often.
There were so many shots after that landed so perfectly clean. I don't even know if you can call it an uppercut at that point, because it goes uppercut, and then as he's falling, he
got him on the way down.
Yeah, he adapted it to a hammer fist and caught him perfectly. And it was super impressive. My friends walked out of the room literally as it was happening, and then I went crazy. And then as I described it, I said he caught him clean with the uppercut, then the follow-up with the hammer fist to connect, and then the hammer fist on the ground, and it was brutal. It was very, very devastating.
Against a very good opponent as well. I mean, we talked about how credible Santos is, you know, even though this, obviously you have to feel for him, because that's 2 losses in the UFC, but both legit guys he's lost to. And I said last week, I do think he won against Lerone Murphy, who, you know, I like him as well. I stand by that, you know, he beat him there, and he looked good as well. He looked pretty good. He was in that fight, and I feel for him in a way, because a lot of the times you see guys getting cut when they really shouldn't be, just because of the losses, even though they've actually put in good performances. I think back to Moreno getting cut. You know, you say that now, you blow your mind. You know, obviously he had 2 runs in the UFC. So and he's also he's quite a young guy as well. So I feel for him, but like, it's a very good win for Onama. He surprised me a lot. I think a lot of people mistook him for a bit of more of a scrapper, like bit more just swinging, going all heart, and not as much technique in the same way, you know, the way he fought Nate the Train. Yeah. But he was a lot more patient, measured. Still has, as you said, quite a weird, you know, the hammer fist is very unorthodox. He's got a bit of a weird style. Effective. But he looked very good. Yeah, effective and patient, and he looked very good. So, and he also obviously came in with that Adesanya or Pereira, I guess, celebration, if you will.
It shows you as well what I thought as well, especially when I was watching that. The main thing from it is it makes you realize how deep that division is, because these people aren't even ranked. So this is your sort of top 20, 25.
Yeah,
it's super high level. Neil Magny, I mean, not much to say on that
one. Most Neil Magny performance, man.
It honestly was. And the thing is, I've got to say, it's actually, all jokes aside, it's impressive that it's that easy to predict or that obvious an outcome, because we've seen it so many times, and to see it so many times is seriously impressive. To execute so many times at the highest level and to execute your game, because he's done it pretty much more times than anyone, right? He's got the most weight wins.
What's going to happen? He's gonna go up. All right, we're gonna put you back in another higher step up in competition. He's gonna lose horribly, then go back down and fight another like up and coming new guy, and then probably win. And he's just permanently stuck in that limbo of right in the middle. And
winning fights and making and cutting checks.
He's winning. Yeah, for sure.
You know,
can't go wrong, I suppose. Actually, Brendan Allen as well. We've got to jump on.
I'm glad you said that.
Rear naked. It was a really good rear naked choke. It was a weird one because it kind of came out. He was looking for it, but it was quite a risky move because going for that, he didn't have he only had one hook in. When he wrapped up the neck and he dragged him down, it was quite like sudden, and it wasn't meticulous, and that was a lot of respect. And we talked about how good his submission game is, it was a real impressive. Just he passed the guard, bunched him up against the cage, and that sort of it really stuck to him. And then he sort of was curling around him, sort of half, not really in a proper back take position. That's what really impressed me, is he managed to get it from there and then drag him into the submission, which I thought was really impressive. Yeah,
he doesn't need too much to finish his ground game. He really doesn't. That was his 10th for a naked choke. 10th.
Standard procedure.
That isn't 10th submission, which is hard enough. That's his 10th rear naked choke. I
don't know what you give him next, though. Do you know what I mean? It's a weird one.
He has to have a ranked opponent.
For sure, yeah. But the question is who? I don't.
And it has to be, because this time he fought down, and he
doesn't deserve that.
He's a young vet in the game now, and it's crazy to think how young it is. And when you actually look at who he is beating, and
oh mate, are you good? Sorry, mate, I've just lost you.
Yeah, sorry, I just flipped.
You good?
You hear me all right?
Yeah, we're back.
All good.
Yeah. So you for a minute. Run it back.
All I was going to say is when you actually realise he's 26, he's a super young vet, and he's got all the skills and all the attributes really to become champion in that division when you have a look at it, because there aren't a lot of people who can strike and grapple. There are people who can strike, there are people who can grapple, but there aren't a lot of people who can do both at 185 pounds.
Yeah, and it's not the most, deep of divisions, I would say.
No, and you think he's 26 years of age, and you think of all the experience he's had. He's fought the likes of Sean Strickland, who's a top 5. He's fought the likes of, obviously, his name's literally just slipped me. Muniz. When he fought Muniz and he armbarred Muniz, when everyone thought that Muniz was going to be the one to go up and challenge Adesanya. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
All these people that are meant to come through. This was the guy that had a really close striking match with Pereira. So he was going to be the one to do it, because Brendan Allen can't strike with him. Brendan Allen's got very, very good Muay Thai, but he's also got really nice fundamentals, because obviously he works at Killcliff. MMA, fantastic coaches there. Henry Hooft, I believe it is.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, really nice. Obviously, anyone that knows Henry Hooft, it comes down to the notion of KISS, keep it simple, stupid. He's very big on the basics done to a very high level. So you're always going to see nice jabs, always going to see nice low kicks. And that's what sets everything up. That's the key to the door.
Just simples, mate.
Just simples.
And, of course, the most common sub as well. Just standard, That is your quintessential MMA, I think.
He's so skilled, but he's not doing anything necessarily to blow you out of the water, but he's doing all of those things at a very high level. And he's got so much experience now, and he started putting his game physically along with his mental game, and now we start rounding out, and he's putting on a little tear, and people are going to have to start paying attention to him, because I've paid quite close attention to his career for a long time now, and we've seen him lose a couple of times to high-level opponents, but he's, like I said, he's young in the game. He made mistakes. He got losses.
Same thing with Barber, as we said, yeah.
It doesn't make them bad, especially when you're of that age and you can really take a lot away from that experience, and you're fighting at the top level is going to happen. So I think he's definitely one to look out for. I think what's next, I think you're going to have to look at top 10 opposition easily. off the top of my head. Who does that look like?
Give him Dricus du Plessis when he loses to Whitaker. Let's give him.
I think give him Roman Dolidze.
Oh yeah, that's a good fight. Yeah,
I think give Brendan Allen Roman Dolidze. I think that's a fantastic matchup. Because
Dolidze coming off a win, right? He beat Vettori.
A loss against Marvin Vettori.
Oh yes, he lost, didn't he? But I was there. What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Well, he should have won that fight, really, but
that was a close fight, and I think that's a perfect matchup for Brendan Allen next.
Yeah, I agree.
Think that's some good name notoriety. I think that's quite a big matchup in terms of how the company and fans view Roman Dolidze, because he's a beast. He's got heavy hands. He'll stand in a fight. He'll trade, and he's a good grappler. Obviously, the Georgian background, because that's another thing as well from Brendan Allen. He doesn't shy away. He stays in the pocket. He puts himself in the fire.
Very true.
He backs himself through it, and he's tough. Like, he's seriously tough. You've seen that before, so. Yeah, I think he's a real problem, to be honest. But yeah, that was actually a really exciting main card. But the one person I want to sort of draw out of the prelims, and then let me know if anyone stood out for you particularly. But that Mateusz Rebecki was really exciting, actually, at lightweight. Really exciting. He looked like a welterweight, quite frankly, and had exceptional head movement that just set up all his shots, and defensively was so sound as well. So he was so happy to stand in the pocket and trade heavy shots, but where his head movement was so good, he wasn't really there to see any of the replies. And obviously he ended up getting the second round KO, and lightweight just gets one shark deeper, you know?
Yeah, it was nice as well, because I think a lot of the prelims as well, that a lot of it was, there was a lot of decisions early, and it was getting a bit.
True.
You know, I think that reignited that flame a little bit that night, because you do get that when you get those strings of decisions, and it just like it becomes a bit of a slog. That was a nice sort of reminder of why we actually watch MMA. Do you know what I mean? But you're right. I mean, it's the lightweight division just keeps going into. I mean, I think the only one I'd rival is probably bantamweight. I think bantamweight is equally absolutely stacked. Again, I mean, I think when you have so many guys signed to the promotion, you're always going to get new people coming in. It's just the way it is. So it's always stuff that's always people coming in that are going to excite you, get on the map, and then soon everybody's talking about them. That's just how it's going to go. But what I did actually want to drop on you, I didn't realize. Well, obviously I did realize this right when, just obviously the day before, and the Tatsuro Taira fight got cancelled. I was so annoyed. I was devastated, because like, it's a £3 limit, which like £3 over the limit. Which was, you know, that's, I don't want to call it unprofessional, because at the end of the day, we don't know what's going on behind fighters, you know, in their camps and their lives and careers. So it's difficult to judge that. But it is a shame we didn't get the fight we really wanted, because we talked about how good he was last week.
When you starve me of Tatsura fights, that's unprofessional. And I legitimately mean that as well. I'm not even joking. We needed to see that yesterday. We need him. And that was a massive card. It turns out it was a big card. It was a big audience. It was perfect time as well for UK crowds. You know, all different audiences. It was a big time for them. So, and as well for Americans, it was just early in the morning for them. So it wasn't even inconvenient in any which way at all as well. So it was perfect for him to get on the card. Obviously, a couple of honourable mentions. Got to shout out Jack Jenkins. Obviously, big fan of Jack Jenkins. Looked good. I would say the one thing I want to say on his performance is I would have liked to see him. It looked like he got caught in the rhythm and the flow of just having a boxing match. And I think when
a lot of guys fall into that.
Yeah, and he just got sort of like lulled into it, if it makes sense.
Yeah, I get you.
And I just would have liked to have seen him just change his levels more, mixing the takedowns.
Mix it up. Yeah, exactly.
And just a little bit more output. I think the jab was really nice, but just a little bit more of that output, and I think that would have set up the low kick even more, which obviously he's done a great job on.
Same thing with Topuria, actually. A lot of that jab and setting up that low kick as well, which Emmett actually had early success with too. But particularly, a lot more of Topuria, just his jab was really effective as well. I just thought I'd mention that.
My friend said to me when I was watching, he said, "Oh, what's the sort of weaknesses, or what's sort of going to happen in this fight, do you think?" And I said, with the sort of matchups, it was where it was in the first round. With Josh Emmett, you have, as we discussed before, you have such a heavy front lead leg, and that left foot is so heavily turned
all the way forward.
Yeah, it's so heavily angled off. It's almost impossible to check that kick, and it basically presents a nicer part of the calf to kick, which is obviously going to get set up by Toporia's sharp boxing and his incredible ability to jab your head off, and then he's also got nice kicks as well. The flip side to that is how you can argue that, and that's the beauty of fighting, is there's always it's yin and yang, is defensively from a boxing perspective, he can really load up on those shorter shots, those hooks and those uppercuts and things of that nature, and he can really screw his feet into it. And that's all he really needs sometimes. So that's the devil's advocate.
I mean, he did come close a couple of times. There was a couple of shots.
True.
You know, you got to give one to take one. And Topuria did take a few. Testing to his chin. Yeah, man. There was. I remember there was it was either straight left or right. They're just absolute money. I'm surprised didn't even put him down. It didn't even faze him. He just looked. It's like business as usual. Just kept on cracking, which really surprised me. So yeah, I have to give him credit for that. Anyway, yeah, let's move on. Yeah,
I think he's just young, tough, and he's just conditioned.
He's just got that Georgian and Spanish,
the Georgian jaw,
metal in him. Yeah.
The last one we'll shout out from that one is he's got a shout out to Trevor Peake, because that guy is that guy's a scrapper. He's game.
He is. He's game as fuck.
Hit me, go on. I know you got a couple of topics you wanted to go over.
Yeah, I mean, story-wise, I mean, I think... Actually, I'll tell you what, I'll start with this one first, because I don't want to get... We can get onto the big one after. Did you see the Tito Ortiz, Chris Cyborg? You didn't see this? Oh my God, it's so bad. They're doing a movie. They're starring in a movie, and it's like looks like the most low-budget action movie from like 2001. I can't believe you haven't seen this. It's terrible.
I'm not saying it.
They've called it Operation Black Ops, which doesn't make any sense, because Black Ops means operation, so you're just saying the same word twice basically, and it's terrible. I can't believe you haven't seen this. You should put this on your page, because it's fucking awful in the best way possible.
So it's a video. It's a film.
No, it's a movie. It's a movie. Yeah, it's an action movie. It's so bad. I don't know. I saw like a few bits from like a trailer, I guess. Someone posted it on Twitter. It's absolutely awful. It's terrible. You need to see this.
If I think of people who have previously competed that would be good actors, Tito Ortiz is not the person that comes to mind. And
get Chael Sonnen in there.
Yeah, he actually did. He did, right? He's been on a shoot recently with Cowboy Cerrone, I believe it was.
Oh God, yeah. I don't know if that's gonna be any good.
Chael Sonnen's not that bad.
Chael Sonnen, I can believe. I don't think Cerrone's gonna be any good. Bisping's all right. He's not too bad. He's been good in quite a few, actually.
He does a lot of it, though. He's been doing it for a long time.
He did one before he fought Rockhold, obviously. That's why his camp was so short, because he was filming something. I think it was a Vin Diesel movie or something.
In Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy. But
you need to see that, though. It's terrible.
No, that's
absolutely terrible.
That's a very important. That's a top priority of my life, and it's 2 hours I get off after this call. Is make sure I think. Is see that, because
I don't know about watching the whole thing. I don't think I'll go that far.
Definitely not watching the whole thing. I'm literally watching a 20-second clip to just get I know that that's enough for me. I'm checking out. But is it a main role? I need the last question on that. Is that a main role, or is it just sort of a cameo?
I don't know. I think so, because they're in the trailer. Like Tito's like talking quite a bit in the trailer, and his big bald head's in quite a lot of the shots. So I'd imagine so.
It's massive, isn't it?
Massive head.
Massive.
Yeah. Honestly, don't watch it. It's terrible. It is terrible.
Not selling it to me. The next one, go on. I'm thinking I know what you're
of course, yeah. I mean, we got to talk about it. Everyone's talking about it. Elon Musk versus the lizard man himself, Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah, I can't. Did you see this actually today? Did you see the Dana wear it with the T-shirt? Like that, that kind of was like, oh my God, this might actually happen. I'm slowly starting to believe, and maybe it's just wishful thinking. But I would love to see it, just because it would just be... Realistically, though, how well do you think that would actually sell? Like, he's calling it Fight of the Century, the biggest pay-per-view ever.
Of course
and I know that's... I said it in... You actually think it is?
Of course.
I mean, I guess it is, isn't
Of
it? I mean,
course.
because we know how, like, I said in my video about it. Dana's like, he exaggerates, hyperbole and everything. It's just he sells fights, right? But I think he might be. Yeah, you might be right there. I can't lie. Of course
it is. I mean,
there's no way it happens though, right?
I don't see how it couldn't be.
Yeah, I mean, it sells itself, doesn't it? I suppose so.
I mean, you're looking at two. Let's rewind to the. No, let's start here. In fact, why not? You're looking at two of the most powerful, successful, wealthy, influential people. Not fighters, not athletes, not a niche corner of society. I'm talking of the world, of the actual world. We're talking nigh on 80% of the universe has consumed or knows of consuming the products of these two men. Nigh on all of the universe. And to put them in arena for combat is the biggest fight in history.
It would be awful. It'd be the worst thing ever.
But this is the thing, right? So I actually thought about it. I thought, right, let's actually just play out this scenario in my head and think about this going down.
That's what everybody's been doing, yeah.
Can the UFC actually put this together and put it under? And what does it look like? Does it go at the main card at the top of a
co-main event?
Like... Does it open up a little pay-per-view?
Yeah.
Because how do you frame it? Because whatever happens, it's going to be the worst. It's going to be the worst event ever.
And best.
Yeah, and best, of course. It goes without saying. It goes both ways. But
it
will be terrible.
You just got to get Jake Gyllenhaal in the main event or something, or in the co-main.
All you have to do.
He did that movie thing. You saw that, right?
With
a few months ago. Well, yeah. Obviously, they're doing it. But did you see I actually quite respect how they did that. Like, they did the whole press thing, and they actually did it in the event. They filmed the scene.
Sorry, I saw it. Yeah.
They should just get him to do it for real.
I was very thrown off by that when I first saw that, but I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I can't remember. Lost my thought. Lost my train of thought.
Zuckerberg, Musk, just trying to trigger your brain or something.
Just when you think about it, when you actually think about it, it's like I said, the logistics of it. How are you going to do it?
Yeah.
When you sell it as a pay per view. That's what I was going to say. Figure Kimbo Slice and Dada. 3,000, 5,000. It's going to look like that essentially, and that was voted the worst event of all time, or the worst fight event of all time. It would look like that. So I don't know how many pay-per-views it would do.
It does kind of. I mean, of course, it would sell a shit ton, but again, there's a lot of. We know how much conversation there's been around the legitimacy of the sport and the presentation of, the UFC like as a company, and how they move into power slap and stuff, and there's going to be a lot of. I actually think it'll be a minority of people complaining about it, because I think everyone wants to see it.
The complaints will get drowned out for sure. The complaints will get drowned out because, of course, they're going to. It's too much bizarreness happening for anyone to pay attention. Who doesn't
want to see it? Anyone who says they don't want to see it is just lying. They just are lying. Like I think we can sit here as big fans of the sport and people who care about the sport, and I still can say shamelessly, I want to see it. I don't care how,
anyone would.
Against the grain it is, yeah.
Put it this way. If I said to you, you hadn't gone on your phone today, and I went, oh, by the way, Mark Zuckerberg bumped into Musk earlier. That was at an Apple convention. I don't know, and in Silicon Valley, and they had a scrap. They said something to each other, and they got into a scrap, and only one person filmed it. I went, can't see it though. You'd be like, oh, come on, I gotta see that. I gotta see that. Come on, I gotta see that. You gotta show me that. Yeah. Because that's how it is.
If they said Neil Magny was in there, I'd just say, oh, whatever. Sorry, mate. I
know how that's going to go. He's going to clinch in a few elbows, go to a decision, probably. Right. But Zuck and Musk, I mean,
it's easy who wins it, though. Obviously.
That's insane.
It's not even close. It's not even close.
Zuck?
Of course. Of course he's winning it.
Yeah, it does have to be.
Only, you don't even need to train that much. And he's been training a fair bit. You don't even need to. You could train a few months, and anyone would be able to beat someone who's untrained. It's not, obviously within a reason of weight, of weight and age, which is obviously a factor. You can't hide from that. And that's the thing. Musk is old. He's old as hell. There's a big difference. Like,
True.
they're both quite old. But Zuck's he's 39. So he's still, there's guys who are fighting are in their 40s. So it's like, he's. It's not even close. I think anyone who says Musk is winning is to lose. So that's the easiest money you'll ever make.
Essentially, we're saying that Zuck could possibly do a Glover to Shearer by the age of 44, and maybe close to title.
Yeah,
so let's have a look. Let's have a look at Sean Strickland versus Abbas Magomedov.
Yes,
there's one. Just to start with one, which sort of jumped out at me. It hasn't really been much about this, to be honest, which is kind of crazy because.
I think I know what you're going to say here.
Yeah, I think you probably do. Where does Kevin Lee fit into all of this?
I know.
Where does Kevin Lee fit?
I'm very excited.
It's all of this. And he fits into the prelims of a fight.
That's harsh.
What sense does it make on their half?
It's also quite weird because he re-signed quite a while ago. And
it would have been for probably quite a good contract because he's a big name. He's a big name and he's skilled and he got a win against
Gillespie.
Bob with the not Gillespie, the man with the nutty trainer, Diego Sanchez.
Yeah, I mean I'm not going to sit here and say that's a credible win these days.
No, but I mean a lot of people saw that in terms of people in Russia saw that, people UFC fans saw that, people knew both of their names. It was quite a big event at the time. It was Khabib's organisation. Khabib's one of the biggest cult followings of all time in MMA. So a lot of people saw that, and a lot of people definitely know who Kevin Lee is now. So to be on a prelim is very strange. Yeah,
something that surprised me about that. I didn't know this. Turns out his brother is like even more famous than he is, right?
Yeah.
Apparently he's massive on like TikTok.
He's huge.
He's huge, right?
Yeah,
I didn't even know this.
Yeah, Keith Lee is his name, and he does food reviews.
Oh right, there you go. Because I saw people on Twitter talking about him, and then finding out that his brother did MMA, and I was like, what do you mean you don't know who Kevin Lee is? So no, obviously it's the other way around for us. But
the average
that
person,
surprised me.
The average person does not know who.
Yeah, of course they don't.
They do not know.
I can dream.
But Keith Lee is quite a big sort of food reviewer.
How many followers does he have on TikTok?
Something like maybe 12 million or something crazy.
Shit. It's TikTok, but still, man,
that's numbers. It's not really like that anymore on TikTok. You can't really have those big followers without being a person with big influence. To be perfectly honest, it's not those sort of times now where you get a random kid who like bounces the ball and's got 1 million followers. It doesn't really sort of happen like that as much anymore.
I just got on it now actually, just so I can post my shorts on there.
Yeah, good idea.
Oh my god, they are oppressive. The amount of notifications I get. I mean, when I didn't have the app installed, they just bombard me with adverts. I'm like, go away. I'm downloading your app, but now I'm doing it strictly for content purposes, and that is it. I do not do anything else on there because I know I'll just get sucked in and my life will get slaved away to watching shitty short form content. I'm not saying all short form content is shitty.
No, I get what you're saying. I've always been quite good with it to just shut myself off from ever doing that. Really, every now and again. I don't know if it is. I think it's just I think it's
YouTube
just about. I think it's about being aware of it. Of it.
Yeah.
So if I'm sitting there, and I'm doing some work, and what can happen is this is exactly how it will happen. I'll be doing work and I'll have to go on my phone because I need to go on Instagram or TikTok or whatever to go and find something, extrapolate something, get detail, whatever it may be. I go on there, I do that, and then I happen to just maybe I scroll 2-3 times. I tell myself, I've got this sort of inbuilt sensor now where it's like, right, I can only scroll sort of like 4 times, 5 times, no more. And then that's it. I just go off. So whether that's videos, whether that's just posts or whatnot, I just go off. So as soon as I hit 4, I'm like, right, that's sort of like recreational time. I just go off of it. And also my algorithm sort of constructed in a way where I've built it into a really bulletproof algorithm with really, really cool things that come up. So I'm seeing people that are taking really cool creative videos. So even when I get those, what my point of that is when you get those 4 or 5 like little bursts, it's quite nice every now and again rather than just binging on crap really.
Yeah, I mean, I have to give credit to my brother because I hadn't had TikTok for like a year and a half, 2 years or something even now, because I realised I was spending so much time on it, and it was just like he just said it was like brain food, and I was like, yeah, and I was like, you're right. I was like, I was trying to remember. The way I say it to everybody now is, try and recall a single TikTok you've watched in the last like 3 days.
Yeah.
And most of them couldn't say one. And I was like, that's what I think. You spend hours just your mind just it just goes straight through and at the other end. Like it's complete brain mulch. And it's the same problem with YouTube Shorts. I actually tried to roll back my YouTube update so it didn't have shorts on it because I would just find myself on it watching clips and you'd be there for like and suddenly like 35 minutes has gone by. And that's on the lower end for a lot of people, right? Yeah, and I you can't roll it back, which is really annoying. I tried to do that, but it doesn't let you. So
you have to
thanks YouTube.
You have to just get that awareness that you're doing that, and then you'll be able to just break it a little bit easier. Because
for sure.
I have this sort of internal conversation even where say I've done 4 or 5 and I say to myself like, right, just get off it now. And then this doesn't happen, but if it were to happen where it's like, oh no, a couple more, I would say to myself, do you not have the ability to go off an app right now? Do you not have that mental effectiveness? And I would just bully myself effectively into probably doing that, which I don't know if it's the right solution.
This sidetrack is unbelievable.
So Rinat Radinov came through Dana White's Contender Series and he looked impressive on there.
I can't sit here and say I've seen him.
No, that's fine. So I'll give you a little breakdown of him. So he was on Dana White's, looked super impressive. The reason I'm saying this is because Kevin Lee has a seriously, and I mean seriously tough opponent. He's 20-1 and he's every bit and 20-1 of that record. He is very, very high.
His name ends in "of," so I'm probably going to bet on him.
But he's a good striker and he's a relentless grappler. And he fought Brian Battle on last minute notice, but he did fight Brian Battle and he absolutely ragdolled Brian Battle. And Brian Battle has shown that
Brian
he's
Battle's good.
Very, very skilled. I watched him tough.
Head kick.
Yeah, and then you saw the head kick. Yeah,
Nutty.
That's exactly it. He's seriously skilled. He's got good takedown defense. He's not hard to hold down, but that's exactly what he done. So Kevin Lee, obviously being a wrestler, but he's coming up against a very, very tough opponent.
Yeah, I'm gonna cross my fingers for him because I like him. He could be a bit of an idiot, but I quite like him, so I hope he wins. I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm gonna bet on him though. That is a different story. I wanted to mention we talked about him a few weeks ago. Ismail Bonfim. Yes. That is very exciting. Against Sandini as well, yeah, great. I am very excited for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just having an actual look at this. That's a shame the fact that Johannes and Brito fight falling out. That's a shame because he's very exciting.
Jordan Levitt as well. He's not fine.
But yeah, when you see Ismail Bonfim, Benoit Saint-Denis, like I said, Saint-Denis was in that fight that he lost, but that was upper weight class, and that was. I mean, I've never seen any fight as brutal as that. And you know what's funny? Do you remember when I said to you the other day I was talking about that and I referenced the fight and you said, oh, that's niche. A couple of days later, I heard someone else mention it online of the most brutal fight they'd ever seen. It was that. Yeah. Because it was when it was the fight where basically the referee got sent out the stadium and he weren't allowed to ref any of it. Yeah. It was that one.
Yeah.
So it was pretty infamous. But yeah, Bonfim Benoit Saint-Denis, what do you think about that matchup? That's a seriously fun fight.
I mean, I'm going to go off just how good Bonfim looked against, Terrence McKinney he's credible for now. I think not obviously his
definitely
stock.
credible.
Yeah, for sure. But his stock is we can't sit here and say his stock's his stock has declined a little bit. So whether that win ages well or not, I think will remains to be seen. But if he fights like that, I mean, I'm tuning in regardless. But I'm looking out for it. I'm looking out for that power. The way I remember the way he just brought McKinney against the fence, and was just teeing off. That if we see that again, I lights out. I reckon. Very exciting fight. It's good. I think I do like Saint-Denis because it's always good to have French guys. There's not a lot of French fighters, so I'd also like to see him do equally as well because
I think the thing with this fight is I just don't think you're going to see Benoit Saint-Denis get finished at the lightweight division. I just don't think you're going to see that. I don't think you're going to be able to put him out. Or you're going to have to do it very, very sneakily. because anything that he sees, I think he's going to eat and march forward. This guy is, I mean, the elite of the elite when it comes to mental and physical specimens. I mean, he was in the Navy SEAL equivalent in France, a really intense regime. Yeah, he's a war-torn troop, mate.
I think the problem is when you've got two guys. Yeah. When you've got two guys who are quite green, like in the promotion, I mean, it's kind of hard to judge on. It is like, I mean, we can't sit and say we're going to know what's going to happen. I mean, you can't say that about any fight really, but you can gauge a lot more about how a fighter's game plan is going to go, where they're going to take a fight once they've really had racked up a few fights against equally credible competition. So I think it's a good fight for both guys. Again, and it's great. Either way, it's good for us as fans. We can really start to judge how good they are, because it's just the steps keep going up and up, and the difficulty and the stakes, they just increase every time. So I'm looking forward to it. It's a great fight, especially for a fight night. It's a very good fight.
True. I think Benoit Saint-Denis just got that stickiness to him, that sort of grappling stickiness, where he's just obviously so strong and he's just so in tune to the next position, and he's just there before you even are, and he's so hard to sort of like scrape and push off you and frame against. I think if he can tangle him up at any point, whether it's just against the cage or whether it's like just sort of like drags him down, because he's super, super strong at lightweight, I think he maybe could climb onto a sort of a back position. Maybe he could take his back and get a rear naked choke of that description. It's going to be hard to do because Bonfim is very well rounded, and obviously he's just that sort of new era fighter that can sort of do everything.
Yeah, that's the image I have of him.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm leaning towards Bonfim there.
You can't be too confident. The fight that jumps out to me as well is the co-main event, which is Damir Ismagulov and Grant Dawson.
That surprised me because I know he was talking about retiring after the Sarukian. I think it was after the Sarukian fight, right? I know he said he had medical issues and stuff, and he said he was going to retire, which is why I'm kind of surprised he's actually fighting. But we know how good he is, because he lost pretty soundly to Sarukian, but it was still like a competitive fight. He's very underrated, and then again, Grant Dawson's a credible opponent too. So, as a quintessential fight night co-main there for me, it really is. But I'm happy to see Ismagulov back, because he's a talented guy. I think he just flies completely under the radar. He really does. So that's exciting to see how he comes back.
A lot of people for a long time had him nailed on to be a silent threat to the title.
And he's kind of just not really been in discussion.
A lot of people had that. Like the people in the know had a silent whisper around Damir Ismagulov. He had the infamous Kazakhstan, I believe he's from. When you got that blue flag next to a fighting name, it's always amps up a little bit the terror.
Is it Kazakhstan? Yeah, it is. Yeah, Kazakhstan. Yeah,
Kazakhstan, right. Little blue one. Seriously talented. Nice sort of fundamentals again. Just nice setups to things. Nice jabs.
Yeah,
very
just
durable.
Well-rounded.
Yeah, just a well-rounded, no sort of frills fighter. But Grant Dawson is sort of... It's interesting to see with Grant Dawson, because he sort of sits around that 15th place. He's been in the UFC for a long time now. He's had some good wins, had some couple of losses that have sent back a little bit. I just wonder now if he can sort of start putting some wins together, and people can start looking at Grant Dawson a little bit more seriously, because obviously we know he's a very, very good grappler and he's seriously strong. I think if we just start seeing a little bit of an elevation in his striking game and the way that he sort of puts it all together with his wrestling, then you look at his record, 19-1.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about a legitimate prospect.
I'd say he kind of reminds me of like a Jack Shaw in a way. Do you know what I mean? He sort of silently crept up to suddenly like, oh wow, you're at the top 15, like right on the banks of it, and you're kind of just there, but no one's really talking about you. It's kind of the same. I think Jack Shaw's the same. Obviously, he had a loss against you might have to help me out here. Who was it? Who did he lose to?
Ricky Simone.
Yes, Simone. That's it. So that set him back, and then he obviously came back in London. But he's always been on that fringe of that top 15. Doesn't have enough respect as much as I think he should have, and I think Dawson's kind of the same. But it's a great matchup. I think it's a both good step back in for, you don't want an easy... I don't think Ismagulov would want an easy challenge. An easy fight. So that's good. There's a challenge there for both guys. So it's good matchmaking. So I'm happy for it.
And you have to think as well with Grant Dawson, this is a good opportunity. Co-main event on a big card. There's big names on there. Obviously, Kevin Lee's return fight. You've got Demir as Magulov on it as a co-main. Grant Dawson obviously is a huge fight, but Sean Strickland's the main event, and he draws in a lot of attention, and I know that because
he does with his mouth.
I see the insights from it. I see the insights. I see the objective, quantifiable insights from Sean Strickland content, and he's a very, very heavily engaged fighter. In fact, one of the most heavily engaged fighters consistently. So he's actually a very big star now, like a very, very big star in the UFC.
Somehow,
whether people like it or not, it doesn't matter at all, to be honest.
I think,
it doesn't matter at all. I don't know why it doesn't really
matter.
Craziest
Craziest guy, but I kind of like it. He's awful opinions on just about everything, but I kind of like him. He's got some, yeah. And I don't even know how you describe him. He's just a complete curveball.
Recently as well, he set up his YouTube channel and he dropped a podcast, and he dropped it with Chris Curtis that he does weekly now. And
that is probably the pairing of like
in one day, that got double, sometimes triple the amount of podcast listens that most UFC fighters get on their channels. And that was just in one day. So
I don't think I could bear to listen to either of those guys talk for a combined, more than 10 minutes.
Just in terms of an engagement perspective, and the people that are tuning in, it's a lot of people. And he started putting out more videos now of just sort of him in training, and he started working with someone in the video capacity, and he's really, really building his profile. And now when he does that, and now he's got his podcast, you're looking at Sean Strickland as one of the biggest stars. Yeah, he's one of the biggest stars. And with a win here against Abus Magomedov, we'll come to this fight
I'm
next.
not going to sit and say I know who he is, but...
So he used to fight, we'll come on to this fight now. He used to fight in PFL. He actually lost in PFL. He went on Dana White's impressive performance, had a debut, super impressive performance. German, obviously 25-4, so super good record, impressive win streak, knocking everyone out, tall, rangy. A problem, of course, when you're a top 5, top 10 middleweight, like Sean Strickland is, and a random person with no ranking comes out basically on debut and says, I'm going to try and take every... And like I said, he's a big star now, so you take a lot of shine if you beat Sean Strickland, because a lot of people see that. Whether they're just memeing it or whether they're watching it,
you're right.
You see that, So... And that's another thing, just touching on Sean Strickland, is like, also when he lost to Pereira, I'm not saying... the fact that he didn't beat him was sort of irrelevant. He became massive after that,
and he kind of embraced it as well. Which, I mean, you saw him training together, and you have to give him credit. I think he's kind of like TikTok in the sense that he's only good. He's just good in short bursts. Do you know what I mean? He's there. I can always I can't help but laugh at some of the things he says because they're so absurd. And I guess that's kind of part of the appeal. I wish that he fought as good as he talked, if that makes sense. It's a shame because he fights like he's sparring and he spars like he should be fighting. It's like he's got the two activities the wrong way around. Because every time I see him sparring, he's going hard, and every time in the fights, he's just, it's like he's playing
But you have got to remember in his last fight, because this is the thing with Sean Strickland. When I see him in the media a lot, obviously I hear a lot of different interactions and interviews and things of that nature, and obviously a lot of what he says and does is him, and he's being authentic, but it's a character. He leans into it, he plays into it for sure. You see him when he's a bit more candid, when he's a bit more relaxed. He's a normal person. He's not always as intense, as always as crazy. He knows what he's doing. He's leaning into it. He's clever. He understands that this is an entertainment business. He understands that the more people who care to watch him lose or win is the more money he's going to make. And he is someone that particularly wants to make as much money out of this game as possible because he's prize fighting, so fair enough. But the thing with him is, you look at his last performance, he actually mentioned before that, he said that he felt that pressure. He said he felt that he weren't putting the output in. He said he was playing too safe because all this bravado that he has, he still has feelings. He still has a conscience. He still went into the ring. But he said this.
I'm joking. Yeah,
he said this.
Right.
He came out and he said he felt that pressure of these big fights. He felt that he needed to get a win, especially after a loss, and he got knocked out, and he wanted to fight for the belt because he knew he could make a lot more money. And then he went in there and he's being more reserved and more calculated. And then the next fight, his most recent fight, he went out and he started throwing down.
Yeah,
you can't forget that. He went out and started throwing down. He said, "I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to fight my fight." And that's exactly what he did. And just having a look at how he sort of matches up, I think this is as good as Abus Magomedov is, and he's obviously the next hottest thing because anyone is that gets a knockout on debut, people don't realise how high level Sean Strickland is. He's not very conventional. He's not very orthodox. He's not always very pretty to watch or very always exciting to watch. He's his own thing. Yeah. But he's awkward, and he's got very good eyes, and he's got very good defence. Even though it's not that pretty, it's very effective. And the reason you can say that with confidence is because statistically he has the highest striking defense in the middleweight division. So you have statistics to back that up with you as well. So the thing with him is he's actually super, super skilled, and he's got high level competition. He's a veteran in the game. And one thing that a lot of people don't talk about, he's got very good ground game. He's not the best wrestler, but he's a very good grappler, And we've not seen that a lot from Sean Strickland.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But I think if we start seeing a world where he starts improving his wrestling a little bit more, maybe single legs a little bit more, and he starts actually incorporating that into I think he just beats a lot more people a lot easier.
I think you're right.
Because he can grapple and out-condition anyone. And he can out-fight, quote-unquote, mostly everyone. So I think the best thing for his game, and it'll be interesting to see if we see it here, is he going to go out and try and grapple?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm gauging on what you're saying about Magomedov being,
or maybe mix it up. Is my point, not necessarily just or mix it up.
I mean, I think it just goes. I think with again, it's down to. I think it's down to the opponent, right? It's down to the matchup. That's, I think that goes for a lot of guys, not just Strickland. But I think I'm more inclined to say he's just going to keep it on the feet because that's his realm. That's where he knows, and as you said, his striking defense is statistically very good. He knows how to handle the pressure. Big hitters like Cannonier. Obviously, he lost that fight, but
But then that's exactly what we were talking about. You got to find that balance, right? Because exactly what you said. You said, "Oh, it wasn't that interesting, wasn't that exciting." Well, yeah, it wasn't, but that's how you get the wins. Or do you go the other way and make it a bit more exciting, but you give up more risk? And then that's the whole catch-22, right? Is sort of how much do you play into trying to excite the fans, because ultimately they're the ones who dictate your career without even realizing it. And how much do you actually try and get a good performance? And it's about trying to find that sort of that balance. How do you see this one playing out? If I had to give you push you a prediction,
I'm going to play for a safe one. I just say Strickland by decision, because we know he's not just, again, we talk about statistics. He's not got the stats to back up in finish wise. So I'm going to go with the decision if I was a betting man. I think it's a. I mean, it could go either way. It's not. Well, again, as I said, about the same thing about the Bonfim and Saint-Denis. We get more understanding of how guys fight, the more in the promotion they're in, how further in they are, and when you got guys fresh into the sport. And obviously, you said he's got a knockout win, but it's difficult to gauge. So I'm going to go with a guy we know how he fights, we know his experience. Strickland for me by decision.
I think we might see him get a finish. I think we might see him knock him out maybe in the third or fourth round. I've seen it before in PFL, and that was down to a lot of pressure. He was fighting backwards and he got clipped, and then the fella's just following up with shots. And I can see a similar sort of thing. I can see Sean maybe playing it safe first couple of rounds or seeing out the explosiveness of Abus. And then I think maybe as the rounds go a little bit later, I think he maybe just extends his combinations a little bit more and starts finding the mark a little bit more with his jab. And then I think he can start maybe beating him up, wearing on him, getting onto the cardio. Yeah. He doesn't do five rounds in under the lights. It's a different prospect.
Yeah.
So, like you said, it feels like a bit of an obvious one. It feels like a bit of a safe play, but
there's nothing wrong with that.
No, it's just nothing wrong with that at all. It's how I'm leaning towards it, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, I'm gonna go Sean fourth round, I think.
Fourth round, okay. What, like a TKO?
Yeah.
What are we thinking?
I think he's gonna sort of, like I said, I think early rounds he's gonna invest into the body a little bit, the jabs. I think he's just gonna take it quite slow. He may even be 1-1, maybe even down 2-1. But more than likely, I think he's going to be up on the scorecards going into the third and fourth, and he's just going to up the tempo.
Output's going to be a little bit higher.
I think he's just going to crank up a little bit, and I think that's going to pay dividends. I think that look and that conditioning, new 5 rounds for Abus, second fight in the organisation, I think it's going to be a little bit too much. Sean's been there and done that with all the best people.
I agree. Yeah.
Future champions. Previous champions and future champions. So I think we're going to see a Strickland win, which is going to set up possibly a world where we even think of a title fight one day down the line.
No, not
100%.
Come on now. Actually, you say that honestly, just because of how he is on the mic. Screw it, could happen, couldn't it?
It's a no-brainer. Like it doesn't. And the thing is, as well, it makes it so much easier when that guy's in the top 5 winning fights. You know, you only need to win one. It's like,
it's true.
Like 2 months ago, we were talking about Masvidal fighting for the title because if he gets a win, because he, so it's.
I mean, I only wanted him to fight for the title so Edwards could beat the fuck out of him, but it's a shame we never got that because that was always going to happen. And, oh my god, I almost forgot that fight was actually meant to happen, and then Masvidal got injured. I know we're going sidetracked, but I stand by that he faked that injury, which I would never say. I think he did. I think Edwards would have battered him, and he was scared.
Masvidal's never faked
I'll die on that hill.
No,
I'll die on that hill. I don't care.
No way. No way.
I think even he knows Edwards would have cracked the hell out of him. Let's be real. He puts on. It's a bravado, man.
No, it's not. He's 15 on with Kimbo slicing back Gardens fighting grown men. But he's not pulling out of a fight with Leon Edwards, one of the biggest fights of his life for a big payday. No. But
this was before. This was before he was champ. This is what I'm talking about when he fought Diaz, after he fought Diaz, or before he fought Diaz, rather. He was meant to fight Masvidal, wasn't he? And that's when Edwards had no stock, man. Like Edwards was like Bilal. I don't even actually probably not that far. No one likes Bilal.
No one likes Leon Edwards.
I like Edwards.
Yeah, most normal fans did, but obviously you gotta hate on ones that were always salty with anything. Was there anything else that you had on the note?
No, I didn't have to. Oh, I think you saw this as well, though. I don't think just John Anik falling off that chair, man. Oh my god,
went flying, so by the way.
I love how it was the same his voice just stays consistent. He sounds so broadcast ready just whenever he's talking. The way he falls off the chair. Because when I saw him, when he said hi to me at London, he sounded so just like John Anik. It was actually kind of weird. Cause it just sounded like he was putting it on, but he wasn't. That's just how he talks. He just said hello to me in the most like broadcast way. I was like, oh my god.
I find it strange hearing him speak in a normal capacity because his voice is auto-tuned.
Nah,
it's crazy. No,
wait, you're just saying like.
No, I mean it's like a physical auto-tune. There's no inconsistency to it. There isn't any. There's no octave change. It's perfect inflection. It's so
weird.
smooth. It's audio butter. That's all I can think of. It's ridiculous.
He just ran past me at like 1,000,000 miles an hour and then just said "Hey" in like the most American voice.
Most yank
so weird. I didn't know what to do. I just went John. He just came running because he was literally about to go on air, and it was the same with Bisping as well. He's
seriously talented. I'm a big fan of John. But yeah, that pretty much wraps us up for today's episode. Today,
number 4.
Scott, number 4. So as always, drop us a comment in the section below. Drop us a follow on Casuals Corner and also Leo
Subscribe,
Cooper
all of that
on YouTube.
To both of us.
All of that good
Support
stuff.
the cause.
And we'll catch you next Monday. Peace.